All right. Welcome to the TOWTalk live stream podcast. Hopefully, we're transmitting. You get to see this greeting. Um, I'm here with Neil. Neil is feeling better after a couple of days being laid up with a bad back. Um, any better, or you feeling better?
Yeah, I mean, I got a bad back, but that's sciatica. That's what happens when you get older. you know.
God, don't remind me. Don't remind me. So, um, so we got a few things to go over today. We're going to talk about some local news, and maybe we'll get into some national stuff. But we're going to start with my interview Sunday with Town Supervisor Frank Dendanto. Actually, we got 4 people here. We're all ready to watch it. Yeah, so I don't know if any of you have seen that. It's been getting a lot of views. If you have seen it, make sure you like and share it to get more people seeing it. Frank addressed a lot of we talked about a lot of the rumors that have been going around, and he addressed them. And I think he gave us a lot of good information. Obviously, he's got a vision for the future of the town. He talked about that. He talked about the hours, which is just a crazy thing. He's like, I'm available all day. He reassured the public that he's definitely available. He's accessible. There's absolutely nothing, and you can confirm this for me, Neil, since you were there. There's nothing on the books that I have found that says that the supervisor must be in office in his desk from 9 to 5, 8 hours a day. There's just nothing that says that.
Listen. You know, I served in the town of Walkill for 8 years under many different supervisors. Okay, and I can tell you, none of them were at town hall 9 to 5. Absolutely none of them, right? And Dan Depew was probably the lowest paid supervisor from my tenure. Okay, it escalated from there. Okay, and what we saw under Serrano was just a hyper escalation. Okay, right? So a normal raise would be about 2.5 to 3%.
That makes
Okay,
sense.
all right, and that's what board members were getting when I was there. Okay, was about 2 to 3% a year. Okay,
Okay.
then George came in, and his first year he was like 4%. You know, and he then after I got off the board, it was the 2 years that I wasn't on the board. It was 10%. You know,
I think it was. I feel like it was higher. It
no,
went
it
up
was
like
10. It was 10%. Okay,
each
each of
year.
those each year, right? So he was just he had said he had made many statements that he should be the highest paid employee in town. Okay, all right. As a part-time supervisor, he wasn't there, and not only was he not there, he wasn't supervising anything. Right? Like I love that the people who are making this argument, right, are the people who endorsed, right, George, who didn't do the job. Okay,
Yes.
your job is chief financial officer. Okay, chief financial officer. That is the job. Okay, and you had a man who served for 4 years that couldn't complete an audit, couldn't complete an AFR, right? Couldn't complete, had $400,000 stolen right out from under him.
By a
Okay,
state
with
auditor.
by the state order. And as Frank said, they didn't even catch it. The bank caught it for them.
Yes.
Okay? They didn't even catch the damn thing. And it happened over 2 years. And they lost the town. It's the highest
Bond.
bond rating in Orange County. They lost it. Not it didn't go down. They lost it completely to where the town has no bond rating at all. Okay? So you know, you had a guy giving himself 10% raises a year. You had the same people, right, who are now running for office, who are now who are in, some of these people are in office, Mark Coyne and Johns, right? All of these people who supported this, okay, now saying, okay, right, oh, nothing to see here. They're still trying to gaslight you.
Yes.
They're still
Yes.
trying to gaslight you into believing that not only is nothing wrong, right, but that they did everything perfect. that these guys were responsible, right? That they took their fiduciary responsibility seriously, and they didn't. It's a joke. It really
Right.
is a joke, right? And people who are taking, no offense, right, to those who are running, the woman who's running for supervisor, and the three people that are running for council, right? It's a joke. You're a joke, okay? Because, right, unless you could come up with a plan that is better than the current plan to get the finances in order and help us with our taxes and keep this community safe, okay, right? Then you should be stepping aside and be thankful that somebody is in there trying to help the town right now get to that point, right? And like, it's not like he's going in and being like, I want to be your friend, right? Like, he's telling them like it is. This is what leadership is like, right? Not what George did, right? Where it was going to ribbon cuttings and
Coffee
and
clutches.
doing celebrations and spending taxpayer money, right? That's not leadership.
No, because he wasn't doing the job. If he was doing the
Right.
job, we wouldn't have been robbed, and we wouldn't have lost our bond rating.
Right. Here's the thing. I think a board should absolutely be community minded. I believe a board should bring the community together. Without a doubt, I believe that. Okay? But at the same token, you have a fiduciary responsibility to the residents of your community, right? And I stated this for 8 years on the board. Frank had said this began in 2021. It didn't. It began in 2017. Okay?
Probably
When
before.
I started bringing this up at board meetings, okay? When I started sounding the alarm that there was a problem, to which a lot of people in this community was like, okay, we're tired of hearing it. I don't want to hear it anymore. Right?
Well, do something
okay,
about it. Then you won't hear about it.
Right. You got to vote, right? Otherwise, you keep voting in the same morons, right? And you're going to get the same damn result. And that's what you got. And listen, I wasn't sounding the alarm saying next year. This was all future stuff, right? Like, it takes time for these things to occur. But when you are in finance, right? When you are in that field, you see these things all the time. Right? So where were the people? Right? Look at the people, right? Look at the people on that board. Absolutely none of them had a finance background. None of them. Okay? None of them managed their own personal home finances. So none of them ever even balanced a checkbook. Okay? So here I'm talking about controls, I'm talking about finances, I'm talking about long-term planning, management, right? Cash management. How many times? I mean, like, I was like a broken record. How many times did I ask for a goddamn cash flow and was told, no, we don't need it? Only for a report to be written by an attorney saying, oh, well, the previous supervisor was able to get a cash flow, but he says that it's not needed and we shouldn't have one anymore. Only because the town was like 3 years behind in doing its bank recs and couldn't put that together, right? I mean, come on, right? It was a joke. People were taking the word of 4 people who never balanced a checkbook over the CPA on the board, and then I was called like a liar. I was called I didn't know what I was talking about, and now the town lost its bond rating. Good. You know what? Fuck you. You got what you deserved. That's all I can say is you got what you deserved, right? Now your taxes are going to go up, right? Now you can't borrow. Now projects can't be done, right? Like, I mean, you screwed yourselves. This is your community. This is your community. Start taking it seriously. Seriously, start taking it seriously. This is your country too. Start taking it seriously. Okay? Stop putting party over good fundamental, right, like management. Okay? You're hiring people to do a job. Make sure they're doing the job.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing about being supervisor is the ability to administrate and get the right people in the right position. And you just got to make sure that they are doing the job, overseeing and make sure they're doing the job. You don't need to be hovering over them all day long, but you do need to make sure that you've got the right people in the right place. And the fact that we lost that bond rate. The fact that we lost $400,000, how and the accounting department didn't catch that. That's your first clue that maybe you've got the wrong people
Right.
running that
And
accounting department.
and Frank said exactly what I had been saying for many, many years, right? Before even Frank got there, since 2017, right? Frank had been saying, and you could go back and watch the videotape, right? Because there's plenty of videotape that says it. If you could lose $400,000 and you didn't even know that you lost that money, right? Somebody else had to tell you what other money could be missing. What other things could have been done that you didn't catch? Your controls don't work. Okay? So, right, you can't say prove it, right? Like, I love this idea that their side keeps saying prove it, right? Every time the paper would come talk to me, I would give them proof. Then they would go to them, they would make some stupid gaslighting statement, right? And nobody would ever ask them for proof. Right? Prove that you put the controls in place. Show me that you can show me. Show me the written controls that you put in place. Show me your signature on documents that show that those controls were put in place. Right? Like, those are things that can be provable, but yet they were never forced to prove anything because they didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Everything was just gaslighting you. Okay? You come into my work environment, I guarantee you there is a signature or an initial on every document that is produced.
There you go.
End of story.
Here's a question. Kristen asks, don't councilmen and supervisors need to go to training to learn how to do the job?
Shockingly, no. The answer is no.
Really?
Right? So it is not mandated. You're an elected official. It is not mandated. So, in fact, right, if you were on the planning and zoning board, you were required to take classes. Okay? If you were on a town board, right, or a village board or a city board, you are not required to take any classes. All classes are voluntary. Okay?
Wow.
So, right.
So you can have any idiot running your town, handling your town's tax money. Think about that.
Every year that I was on the town board, with the exception of the COVID years, right? Every year I was on the town board, I went to training in New York City. I took that training. I did that training in New York City. I was the only board member, right, that ever went to that training. The only person who ever came to that training with me, right, from the town board was Frank D'Andanto when he became supervisor. That was
Interesting.
It. Okay? Nobody else came to that training with me. Okay? They also hold introductory training, right? In other words, like, hey, welcome to being a town board member, like the New York State Controller's Office, right? They hold a training in January, believe it or not. And guess who took that this year? Don Salea.
Yes, Don did. Yeah.
Don was the only one that went up there, right? Training is important so you understand what the job is, right? I think like Eric Valentin's last year there, right, or second to last year there, he actually came to one of the trainings and he heard what I was preaching and he sat in the room with his arms crossed and the puffy look on his face, like he was so angry, right, that he was hearing it, right, hearing the words that were coming out of my mouth coming from the New York State Comptroller's training class.
Yeah, well, yeah. So you were proven right. Neil is once again vindicated. So here we are.
Vindication, thank God.
So we have a lot of people here today. A few people here today.
God, yes, we do.
Yes, we did. Did any of you guys see the interview with Frank? Oh, they're all leaving.
No, I saw it, and they're all staying. Stop.
So, everybody's quiet. Well, if you have, comment, let me know what you think, or at least if you haven't, definitely watch it. It's an hour-long video, And Frank gives a lot of information about what's going on. And again, we addressed the hours. We addressed issues with the cost of audits and how there's a lot of rumor going around that he's spending $1 million when in fact he's spending what was allocated by the board, the previous board. Back in the budgets are done ahead of the incoming year, so the budget was already done. So he's working only with funds that are in that budget, and there's a rumor going around that he spent $1 million. So he addressed that, and it's just really crazy the amount of bullshit that goes around.
Those rumors that you were asking him, right? Like you were like sort of like confronting him with, right? It shows you how not serious his opponent is. It shows you how not serious, right, the entire Republican Party is. Okay? People want affordability. People want government services. Okay? They want to know that their government is working for them. Okay? This is not the greatest of times for anybody. Everybody's struggling. Everybody's now dealing with $4 gas prices. Okay?
Yeah.
Everybody's dealing with an affordability issue. Your community has to grow, right? And we're contracting, right? Just before Frank took office, right, we had to deal with the fact that pyramid, the gallery at Crystal Run, okay, this is another thing, right, all of a sudden got reassessed downward.
Yes. That's a loss of revenue.
In taxable assessed value. That was from one property that now has to be reallocated to every other property in town.
Yes.
Okay? Right? This is the previous administration really setting the town up for failure. This is the Republicans in this town, right? And Eric Valentin, who set this town up for failure.
Right.
Okay? And really, it's enough's enough, right? Like, I mean, start showing that you're serious. Start showing that you're serious.
Like, Kristen has a question, because who decides the hours of the supervisor?
Supervisor.
The supervisor, the board, maybe?
It's the supervisor. The supervisor, listen, supervisors are part-time in New York. End of story, period. That's it. They're part-time. Right? If a supervisor chooses to be full-time, okay, right, that's on them. I will say this, as I said before, Ed Diana was never at town hall. He was always at the county. Right? He was on the IDA. He had a million other things to do. I can tell you that I knew that because I was told by somebody at the county, to be named nameless, who said, please get rid of Ed Diana. Right? He's bothering the hell out of me. He won't leave me the fuck alone. Okay? Right? So, right? So that was that, like, I'm sorry. Like, I've dealt with all this. George Serrano was constantly out of the office. Constantly. Okay?
Yeah.
He would go to ribbon cuttings. In fact, right? This is the funny part. When he had openings and ribbon cuttings, it wasn't just him. He took the entire town hall with him. He shut down town hall and brought everybody with him. If you went to the Adams opening, it was the entire building A that was there, right? On your tax dollar, okay?
Wow.
Every department went to the Adams opening.
So they closed the office?
They closed the office to go to the opening, right? And they got paid for it.
Wow.
Okay? So, like,
what do you think of that? People watching this, think about that.
This is what I don't understand. This is what people like you witness these things, right? You know that they're happening, but the Republicans, right, who are running and criticizing Frank, right, like, know that this is what they do on their side. They don't care. They don't care if the town operates. They don't care about, financial statements and getting and proper procedure and process and the administrative side. They're just there to take your money and throw parties for themselves. That's it. That's it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, look at the federal government. I mean, George was doing it before the federal government started doing it, really, right? Like Christy Noem took $200 million and did an ad for herself, right? Like, I mean,
Oh my
sitting on a
God.
horse, right? I
Yeah,
mean, but this is what they do. This
with
is
your
what
money.
that side does, right? Forget
So,
about it.
well, let's we move on a little bit here because we got other stuff going on.
Oh, hold on a second. Okay.
What?
I
Wait.
want to make one correction, right?
Okay.
Because she's mentioning it here. Luisa Ingracia is watching us tonight. Thank you, Luisa,
Hey,
for
Luisa.
correcting me on that. Right, she is our lovable town clerk. Her office remained open, although she attended the opening of Adams. She made sure that her office was still open, and I apologize. Right, that is a correction I'll be happy to make. Right, I believe also that the building department might have also stayed open during that time, but I know other offices were not open because I saw them there myself because I was there.
Oh, there we go. All
There we
right.
go.
So,
Thank you, Luisa, for correcting me.
thank you, Luisa. Luisa, by the way, is our town clerk. So, just a big wave to Luisa there, and thank you for all the work you do for the town. So make sure to send her a thank you.
One day, now that she's here, now we can confront her directly and say, Luisa, at some point in time, you will have to come on and do our show.
Yes. She's quiet on that.
Now she's quiet on that, right?
Actually, I think, Luisa, I think you had spoken to my mom. I think way back, and I did try to reach out that you wanted to pop on here. So just let me know, and we'll have you on, and we'll as a guest. All right. So we got a thumbs up. So she's in it. She's all in on it. Yeah.
Listen. I've always said we are happy to have on, right, anybody from any political side, right? I understand people don't think that I'm fair. I'm a pretty fair guy, actually. And if Frank's opponent wants equal time, right, she's more than welcome to reach out and come on and listen. Let's put some of those rumors to rest. You want to have it out, right? Like I'm all for debates too. I am absolutely all for debates. I think this town has done a disservice to its residents by not having debates. Okay,
I agree.
Right? In the last 4, I want to say no, even more than that. It's got to be like 7 or 8 election cycles, right? For town supervisor, there have been 0 debates. Right? Ed Diana refused to debate Frank, right? Then you had Serrano refused to debate Frank when that year, right? Then Serrano refused to debate me. Okay, like I mean, this is just an ongoing trend. We need debates. Like, you want to spread rumors, you want to go out there and talk shit. Stand in front of a group of people, get asked questions, and be held accountable for those statements.
Yeah.
And tell us what you're going to do, right? Don't just stand up in front of a group of seniors, right? And spew lies, right? Take the tough questions. I know Frank can take the tough questions. He may not want to. I mean, like, listen, like, I can tell you that right now. He may not want to answer my questions, but at the end of the day, step up. Take the tough
I think
questions.
That's a great idea. How many
We would love to moderate, by the way.
Yeah, who wants to have them debate and do moderate right here? We could do it right here live for everybody. Neil will come up with the questions. He's got them all. I think so. Yeah. So let's see if Jill wants to join us here for a debate sometime before the election. I suspect as the election season heats up. I think that's a great idea to have both of these candidates. And you know what, folks? Anybody who's watching now or who catches this, maybe I didn't catch it live, keep that in mind, because if we do that debate, we would want to have an audience. Maybe we could do even a town hall style debate. We could also have some questions tossed out to the candidates from the public.
We could
think
do
about
it
that?
we We could do it at the community center, invite the community in, do a town hall style debate, right? Have three moderators, right? I think me, you, and they can choose a moderator too to ask questions, right? And we all have our own questions. We all come up with our own questions, right? And we ask the questions.
That's a
You
great
know,
idea.
I think that would be a great idea. And it would be fair to both sides.
And it would it would give an opportunity to dispel any rumors and to, for the candidates to demonstrate their policies. I'm going to say this, we've gotten away from policy politics, right? Everything
Oh
now is
yeah.
just mudslinging the other side. That's how we win. We win by making the other side look bad and not talking about what our side is going to do in a positive manner. What are you going to do? What are you going to do for the town? That's it. From what my mom told me. Well, that's a funny question. There we go. Yeah, no. We'll make sure everybody limits their answer to 2 minutes or 3 minutes. But my
Well,
point is,
right. That's why we would have moderators there. That's why we have
yeah,
Denise there.
exactly.
Denise will
Yeah,
keep the time. I get to ask questions. They'll have one person on their side asking questions. I think it would be a perfect way to do it. And that way Denise can keep me and the other person under control. As
right.
we can see,
Right.
Denise does a very good job of keeping me under control.
But yeah, we need to get back to talking about the issues that affect us in all politics, straight across the board,
Yeah.
locally, right on up. And but
Preach.
locally is a good time to start, right? Talking about the issues that impact our property taxes, our roads, our sewers, keeping our schools safe. That's what we need to talk about. I'm not talking about, there's nothing wrong with finances. Well, actually, there is. By the way, for everybody who's been hearing that the investigation into the finances that was being done by the state, apparently there's a rumor that this has been dropped. No, it hasn't been dropped. It's still very, very active. It's pending. It's pending the results of the criminal action against the state auditor, that's Tobias, who stole 405,000. Now that's kind of like, oh no, now the state has to deal with investigating their own auditor to find out how he was able to get a hold of those funds and why he did that. But once that criminal investigation is done, and I think he's already, did he plead to a lower charge?
Pled guilty already, yeah.
Okay,
Pled
so
guilty,
I guess did they still have to do sentencing though, right?
yeah. Sentencing
So
is June 1st.
okay, so probably once that sentencing comes through, then they'll be able to sort of move forward with what they were doing up until he got caught. But
I just want to interrupt real quick because I think you hit the nail on the head, right? We need to hold people accountable, right, to the job that they're asking to fulfill and perform.
there you go.
Okay, and this, at the end of the day, this is you're employing them, right? Like, I love the people. I was talking about this today. I love the people who walk around, right, in their Trump outfits and their Trump uniforms and, blah, 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 right? Trump is an employee of yours, right? These people, these politicians are your employees. Okay, you are hiring them to do a job. Okay, right? Constituent services is the bare minimum, right, of that job. Just as I said, Marjorie Taylor Greene was great at constituent services, so her community loved her while she went to Washington and advocated against their interests. Okay, it's not just about constituent services. That's the bare minimum. That's the requirement that they got to do, right? What you want them to do is go to Washington, okay, and actually perform their job and advocate for your interests, not the billionaire interests, okay? The same thing goes for your state legislators, your governor, right, and your local town board. These are job interviews, right? That's why I've always said, if they come to your door, ask them questions, but don't ask them irrelevant questions that that don't apply to the job. Understand the job that they're coming to your door to ask you about, right? To ask you for your signature for, and ask them about that job. If it's your local town board or town supervisor, it's your roads, your water, your sewer, right? Your police. Okay, that's who's coming to your door. If it's a state legislator, right? Ask them about taxes. Ask them why not a wealth tax, right? Or to have an income tax of 2% if you make $1 million or more, right? Like I don't understand. Okay, I don't make $1 million. You don't make $1 million. What do you give a shit if they tax somebody who makes over $1 million 2% more or 1% more, especially if it provides you more services? Why does that bother you so much?
I don't know. It's like, it's too so much socialism. Like, well, what are you paying taxes for?
And what we're doing now isn't socialism, right? Like these
Not
billionaires
for
took
us.
us to war. Billionaires took us to war, all right, and now want us to pay for their war while they're profiting and staying on their yachts and partying down in Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah.
I mean, it absolutely boggles my mind, right? About all of this. And so when we talk about local and we're talking about Frank, right? Ask them questions. Frank came up with very good answers. He had very specific ideas about you had never heard anything like that from George. All you ever heard from George is there's no problem here. Don't look behind the curtain. That's
Or
all
you got
you ever heard from them.
and you got snapped at for doing it in meetings.
Right.
You got
Anytime
snapped at.
anybody did. Yep.
So that, but yeah, in answer to your question, is our consequence to spreading lies and feeding the public falsehoods? I guess, you know what? The answer to that is propaganda and how we handle it and how we acknowledge that it's out there and how we defend against it. We fight back with honesty, but we have a huge propaganda machine. I mean, we have billionaires that own pretty much all the mainstream media and most of it, and the rest of the mainstream media doesn't want to deal with any trouble, so they don't report on the things that make the regime look bad. And
But
so
it's also
go
local,
ahead.
right? It's also local. We have our local troll, right? The Facebook page that we've mentioned a few different times, right? Which isn't run by any woman at all, right? And is a former board member, who is trying to cover up and gaslight the public into believing the lies that they spread for year over year over year over year, right? And what's funny is one of his points is the salary of the supervisor, right? Because it is the highest paid supervisor in Orange County. Okay, right?
One of the highest
They
in the
made
state.
that. They created
did it.
that. Right? They are the ones that boosted that salary, and now all of a sudden are turning around, right, making it seem like they didn't do that. Right? This just shows you how irresponsible they are and how unaccountable they are. They have never once come out and said, you know what? We were wrong. We were wrong, and we want to take ownership for that. We want to help.
I want to add to that, just so people
Show real
understand.
leadership.
Yeah, I just want to let people know the salaries are generally voted on in the fall. I think in October of each year or every other year. So this
Every year.
every year, okay.
It's a budgetary process. It's part of the
Okay,
budget.
so and that's done in October. So
November.
Frank didn't come in, November even. So those salaries take effect in January, and Frank started his role as supervisor January 1st. So salary was already decided before him. And
by the previous board, George Serrano, Eric Valentin, right, and Mark Coyne, who all voted for it.
Yes.
They all voted for it.
This includes like a 50% increase in the councilman positions, which are very part-time. It's just a couple hours a week.
And while we're talking about the budget, all right, I want to bring up something because I don't think it was brought up in your thing. Last Thursday at the town board meeting, right, Councilman Johnson decided to go on a little bit of a rant, right, about disclosure. Okay, right, and here's what I'm
This
going
ought
to
to be
say: how
good.
full of shit he actually is. Okay, because since we're talking about the budget, if we want to go back to the budget, right, when George Serrano was in office, I would ask for certain backup information related to the budget, right? Including payroll numbers, right? I wanted to see the detailed payroll. I wanted to know how many employees we were adding. I wanted to know what we were buying, right? Basic things that every councilman should know, right? This was all information they were given. I was not given it. They refused to give it to me. On the day of the vote, right? Like I said, when am I getting this information? Mark Coyne said, just vote no. You're not getting it, right? Johnson sat there and smiled, right? Didn't say a word. So this disclosure that they're talking about, right? Whatever his rant was, he's full of shit. Okay, because he doesn't mean any of it. He doesn't care, right? He just wants to try to make Frank look bad, right? He was
Yeah.
doing it himself for what, 10 years? 10 years. You can ask Steve, right? Right? He was, remember, Johnson knew that the town had no bond rating for a year and a half and failed to disclose it to the Democratic board member on the board. He failed to disclose it to Steve. Steve was unaware that the town lost its bond rating for a year and a half while he was on that board.
So did the rest of the town. It wasn't until Steve
Right.
found out that the rest of us found out.
Right. But somehow we are supposed to take him seriously on the board, talking about how he is not included. Dude, you failed to include anybody else, right? Your decision making has already become suspect. You lost the town its bond rating. You had $400,000 stolen out from under you. You had no idea this stuff was going on, and you were warned a million fucking times. So
Can you answer
at the end of the day, just
question?
shut up, sit back, and ride out the end of your term, because you have no credibility with anybody in this town anymore. Thank you.
Maybe, okay, he's got to. Before you get back on the soapbox, can you answer Kristen's question?
No more soapbox. I'm done. Hold on. Marty said town supervisors in New York typically may earn between $55,000 and $135,000 annually as of 2026, with an average annual salary of $69,000 to $106,000, depending on the size of the town. That $135,000 is in Long Island. Long Island actually has the largest town in the United States.
Is that town of Hempstead?
Yeah. So believe it or not, it's actually bigger than a lot of cities and everything else like that. So it is absolutely huge. They take in a ton of revenue. So paying $135,000 to that
Supervisor.
to that supervisor, I could understand. But then $120,000 to the town of Wackel supervisor, I had said for many years that they should not be making that was way too high. I criticized the previous board when I saw that George was making $120,000, but I was called crazy. I was told to shut up. So whatever. Kristen's question: do we have numbers for how much the supervisor budget line was raised by Serrano's board? I don't know the specific supervisor's budget line, because remember, I really wasn't given a lot of that information, and there was a lot of information, a lot of things flown all over the place. I will say this: when Frank left office, the supply line in the supervisor's budget was roughly about $2,000. Okay, just the supply line, right? In other words, it's the entire accounting office, the supervisor's office, right? You have to buy supplies, you have to buy things, right? Paper products, binder, like check paper, so you could print out your checks. Like, you have to buy those things. It was about $2,000, right? That was immediately raised, right? So George blew through that number his first year, right? He went above the budget. I think it was like $6,000 his first year in office, right? And then he immediately increased it to $10,000, right? Larry right? Lovable Larry,
Holy.
right? Had a Staples account, right? And he was spending anywhere between $500 and $1,000 at Staples every month.
Wow. That's from just 2000 for the whole year. He was
Right. It was under
wow.
Frank, and then it went to like 10,000 under George. I think it may have even been more, but yeah, I mean, he like they were going crazy. Like I was seeing bills from Staples, like, and I was like, what the fuck are they buying? They would just buy like knickknacks. It was literally like shopping spree time. Let me go on and I'll buy a million different things.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for calendars. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of like a $1 million in steaks. So, but we won't go into that. So, oh yeah. So yeah, that's where we're at. But I think we're on the right course with Frank. I was really happy that he came and talked to us. And
Hold on a second. Kristen has more questions.
oh,
Is Frank the only supervisor to not purchase a new car upon taking office? So let me answer that question because I will answer this question because I know the entire history of the supervisor's vehicle. Dan
that's the
Depew,
question.
right? Dan Depew did not take a vehicle. He drove his own personal vehicle. When Ed Diana got into office, Ed Diana said, "I don't want to drive my own vehicle. I think the town should buy me a vehicle." Most supervisors do not have a vehicle, by the way. They use their own personal vehicle. But Ed Diana said, "I want a vehicle," and so they bought him a vehicle. Okay, he spent $40,000 on a Jeep Cherokee with the county. Okay, he actually bought it from the county for $40,000, a used Jeep Cherokee. Then George Serrano inherited the vehicle. Frank did not buy one when he was in office. He just took Ed Diana's vehicle. Then George decided that he wanted to buy a big truck, right? A big car that like because he wanted to be like Lou and Gracia, so he wanted to buy like one of those big Cadillacs or whatever the hell they drive, right? And so George ended up buying himself one of those like $60,000 or $70,000 vehicles,
I
right?
heard figures of 100,000.
Okay, maybe it was 100. I don't know exactly how much it was, but he decided to buy himself that, and now Frank is inheriting another vehicle. That's not a vehicle he bought. That was a vehicle that George bought. But again,
and they're attacking him on it.
And you have non-serious people, right? You have non-serious people who are going out and blaming, right? Because when George was in office, there wasn't anybody like who was saying anything, right? Nobody on the board. Steve was a good guy. He sat on the board and he was like, why am I going to say anything? I'm just going to get outvoted anyway. But this is why you say shit. Because at the end of the day, they're going to say shit and then they're going to blame Frank for everything they did.
Yes. Yes. And here they are trying, like, accusing him of driving around the car that Serrano bought. And it wasn't a cheap vehicle. I thought it was like a big SUV.
Yeah, it is a big SUV. It's a big vehicle. It's a big vehicle.
Like,
it's not a vehicle. I will tell you this: it's not a vehicle I would drive. I don't like driving big cars.
It's like, why not? If you're gonna get a town vehicle, you get them like a small little, EV type vehicle that doesn't use a lot of gas and gets them, back and forth to the job, back and forth if they got to go around. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of things that supervisors do.
Vehicles, right? What they say about guys.
Oh, yeah, they're compensating. They're compensating. Yeah, and he needs a lot of compensating. Serrano. But we're not going to go into that. Oh,
apparently,
my God.
you can ask some people at town hall. They know.
Oh, my God. Moving right along.
Moving right along on that one, right?
Yeah. Couple
We're having
other
some fun here, people.
Yes, we are. We are. Hey, if you're here, introduce yourself to everybody else. So
yeah,
wave
feel free
and
to
say,
ask some questions if you have questions for us. I know that we're having a little bit of fun here tonight, but
yeah,
more than welcome to ask questions to us. We're happy to answer them.
I do want to, first of all, shout out to Town of Wallkill Police for providing protection during Saturday's No Kings Rally on 211. It was really great. But I wanted to point a couple of things to that. First of all, and it was there was seen at the event was Frank's former um, opponent in the election from last year, Ralph Carr. Ralph Carr was at No Kings here in the town of Wallkill, which I thought was interesting. Um, Heard he said, I just thought it was interesting. You just don't expect to didn't expect to
Listen,
see.
okay. I
But
would
it
have expected him to be there.
really, oh,
Yeah,
well, I think you were saying he's more moderate than
he is. I mean,
he
listen,
is.
you can't just throw every Republican in the same bucket. You just
That's
can't.
true. You're
You know,
absolutely right.
we're all individuals. You have to judge everybody in as individuals. You judge people by their actions and what they say and what they advocate for. But those people who are like hardcore. I mean, like listen to what they say. I served on that board for 8 years, and I'm gonna tell you, there were plenty of times, and I'm sure there's somebody in this room who heard him say it many times, right? Where they used to say the only good Democrat is a dead Democrat.
Yeah, you've said that before.
All right, that isn't a way to start a meeting where you're trying to get consensus. That's the way you start a meeting when you're trying to be adversarial, where you're trying to put people down and put people on the defensive right from the start, right? So that you feel that you have some type of negotiating power over them. Okay?
Yeah.
And that's what they did, and you have to listen. It's just not you can't do those things. Just can't.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, we all have to work
I
together. We all have to live in this community.
and I think that that's what's happening. This We're seeing a change in this culture because the No Kings rallies were well, it was the biggest of all of them. This was the third one, but more importantly, there were 3,300 rallies across the country, which is up from I think it was like 27 or 2,800 in the last one, and most of them were in red states,
Eight
which I
million
thought
people.
was yeah. And I think 8 million is very conservative. I think they go by the number of people who sign up on the website because that's where they get a real count. It's really not easy to count across the country. But the crowds looked a whole lot larger. First of all, I want to also give a big shout out to Warwick's citizen, Don Kilcoyne, who organized a rally in Warwick. It was, I think it was the biggest one in the county. They had at least 1,000 people there. And I mean, I usually do some work in Warwick a couple of times a month, and there were signs all over. He promoted it. They set up a little stage. They worked with the village to organize it, and people came from all over to appear at it. They had music. They had speeches. So just want to give it up for Don Kilcoyne for all the work that he does for his community because they missed out. You should have voted him in because he's great. He's doing a great job. He was doing a great job as a citizen. So just
Sometimes you can do more as an everyday citizen than you can as an
as an
elected board member, elected
yeah,
official.
yeah,
I'll be the first one to admit it. It's true.
yes. So
Mhm.
also in local news, Chester Highway Superintendent John Riley III was convicted of assault and weapons charges. That was for shooting that poor lost DoorDash driver. So, how do you feel? Do you feel assault was the right charge, or should it have been something more serious?
I don't know. How about we ask the public that question because I work in the town of Chester, and any comments that I make,
Oh, you
you
can't.
know,
That's right. He can't make comments.
I have opinions on all that stuff. But I have to work with a lot of people there. So
Yeah, no, no, don't. We can't do that. But, folks, you think that an assault charge was the right charge? Though a lot of us have seen that video. If not, you can definitely do a search. You'll find it online. Um, but you think that's the right charge, or do you think maybe it should have been something? more serious, some sort of something homicide or attempted homicide related. I'm curious. Think about that. Let me know what you think in the comments, whether you post them here now or maybe you do it offline. But that was a story that goes back from last year. Oh, here
Yeah.
we go.
Didn't he go back
This,
into the house to get the gun? No, he did not. That isn't the way it worked out. He was already in the house, so
but he
he
did
never
come
came out
out
of the
of the.
house. He came out of the house when the guy was leaving. He didn't come out of the house prior to that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was the case. But I also want to bring up something that's been in the news that I forgot to mention that happened a few weeks ago. That there was an acquittal in the Megan McDonald case. The statement from the McDonald family is that although he was acquitted, it doesn't prove guilt or innocence. It just proves that they didn't have reason. There was reasonable doubt. That was it. So my heart goes out to the McDonald family. They've been through a lot, and I can't say enough. The whole thing is
Yeah.
really heartbreaking. They waited 20 years. This is a town of Walkill issue, as the murder did happen in the town of Walkill.
Yes.
I personally, um, given everything that came out, am heartbroken at how the family was treated by the then town of Walkill supervisor, George Serrano. I think what he did was reprehensible, and
Can
my
can
feeling
you
it.
can you kind of explain what happened? Because even I don't. What
So
he said.
they, so I mean, this is about a management style, right? So you're either running for election or you're trying to score points. And Hoovler was trying to win an election. He was trying to score points. It had just come out in the paper that he had been involved with the McDonald case. Um, back when it first had occurred. Okay. And he never recused himself when he became district attorney. Now, he recused himself from a lot of other cases, but not the McDonald case. And every time the state police would come to him with new evidence, he would turn around and say, it's not enough. It's not enough. It's not enough. He would constantly stonewall the state police. So when it finally came out, all right, that he had this involvement because the McDonald family had enlisted their own private investigators who took the evidence that the state police had collected and went and did some more investigating, which is how they came up with this individual as being the person who they felt did this thing. Um, it came out that Hoovler's involvement in his failure to recuse himself. The same week, right, that that evidence came out, that evidence hit the paper, right? George Serrano gave Dave Hoovler a Humanitarian of the Year award from the Police Community
Oh,
Council. All right. Um, Now remember that murder happened here in the town of Walkill.
yes. I
Okay,
remember that.
right? For the guys who ran on "We love our police" and "Our police are here to protect us" and all that kind of stuff, right? Like you should be standing there with the McDonald family, right? You should have honored the police officers that investigated that case, right? Like from my standpoint, that's what the town of Walkill community should be about. Not honoring a politician, right? Who 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 failed to recuse himself, who apparently was somehow involved with the case. Okay, and that to me, I just found really, that
Yeah.
was heartbreaking to me. Um, you know, I feel a real disservice was done to the McDonald family, and my heart goes out to them.
Yeah. I think a lot of us feel that way because it's gone on for a long time. You see the signs all over town. Um, they had paid for billboards and everything. They invested a lot of money and time in trying to get this resolved. So
20 years, 20 years they waited. You know,
Yeah.
and the whole thing is really heartbreaking. So I would hope that at some point in time the town would correct that error,
Yes.
and come together as a community in support of the McDonald family.
I think
You
that's
know,
a great idea. I think that's a great idea. So hopefully Frank watches this episode. And maybe we could do something to help them out. So, wow. I had a whole list of things we were going to go over, and damn, we just about filled this entire hour up. Does anybody here? We've had a lot of people interacting, a lot of people watching. Do you have any questions that for me or for Neil that we can answer before we wind down here? Everybody's so quiet.
I know. I mean, nobody has any questions or like any comments or anything they would like to add to the conversation. I mean, like there's a lot of stuff that happens in this town. I don't talk about everything. There's a lot of things I missed. Maybe there are some good things that we can talk about that's going on. I think there's a lot of positive things that are happening. They had the march. We were honored women from in March. Women's History Month
Yes, Women
in
History
March,
Month. That was
right?
last week
That was
rather, I think.
that was last week, and that was run by DeShonda Carter, our county legislator, the Honorable DeShonda Carter, and she did a great job. I got to be honest, she did a fantastic job putting the whole thing together. We honor the deputy sheriff, McCormick, who was there, and she was wonderful. She gave a great speech, and we honored Michelle Baker, who is
Yes.
who is the first woman DPW commissioner in Orange County. So and it was a great event. So I just wanted to say congratulations to all the recipients, and as I said, the town of Wallkill is moving in the right direction.
Ah, yes, it is. And by the way, so I just took a look on the Town of Wallkill website. There is the town's Easter egg hunt is this Saturday. Let me see. I'm looking at my phone here. Probably should have pulled it up. You want to pull it up? Pull a flyer up so people can see it if anybody wants to participate in it.
Can't do it that quick. Not in
I
the
did.
minute we have.
It's on the video we have. It's going to be. I can't see. Oh, Saturday, April 4th, at 10 a.m. Registration begins at 9:15 from Circleville Park. I don't know if any of you have been there. It's a great little park, by the way. They have a little pond there, like a lake that you can go in the summertime. They have a nice walking path around there.
And the
The
bun will
bunny
be there.
the bunny, not the bun. The bunny will be the bun. So definitely join. I don't know if you plan on going, but if you got kids, that's something you can do the day before. I think Easter is on Sunday, so
Right.
there's something you could do there. And first of all, I also want to welcome. We've had a number of new signups in the last week, new subscribers. Thank you. Want to welcome you. We really do appreciate our community that follows us and likes, shares, and subscribes. It does a lot to help us to grow and help us to keep doing what we're
Also,
doing.
there's a new Spill the Tea event on
Oh, thank you.
Tuesday, April 7th, between 6 and 7. The supervisor, Frank D'Andanto, will be conducting another event, which seems to now be monthly, which is great, where you get to come and in a town hall format, ask questions and really, tell them what you think, and try to get whatever information. So if you need to talk to the supervisor, apparently the Republicans are talking about this, but I never see them at this event. So it's interesting that they say he's unavailable. Meanwhile, here's a flyer. This is when he's available. Come join. Not only come join your fellow residents and asking him questions in front of a group of people. Oh my God.
That's a great idea.
right?
That's a great idea. I mean, yeah. So this is a correction then from he thought it was on April 13th, which I went and looked on a calendar. That was a Sunday, so it was definitely not going to be, or April 12th rather. That's a Sunday, and so that's a correction. So it's going to be next Tuesday night from 6 to 7 p.m. So we'll be there. And usually right after, like we did the last time it was in the evening, we went straight from there, came back here, and got online for our live event. So we can talk about what happens at the Spill the Tea event. So we'll definitely be here again right afterwards. But again, we're gonna wind down here. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your questions and for engaging. This was a lot of fun today. And if you haven't, again, begging, please subscribe, share us with your friends. We're trying to grow this channel because there's not a lot of people in our space that addresses local town issues. There's a lot of big ones out there, but not so much in the local space. And we'd like to grow this channel to get our voice out there for other local communities. All right, so we'll be recording. Thank you, and we'll be doing our recording this weekend for more stuff. If you have some topics, drop a comment below or send us a message on Facebook. Make sure you're following us on Facebook. If we reach a certain threshold of followers, we can actually stream directly to Facebook as well. So you don't have to come looking for us on YouTube. So make sure you're following us there, and hope you all have a great night, and we will talk to you soon. Thanks so much for hanging out with us tonight. See you soon.
Thank you, guys. Peace out.